Very good afternoon, friends. I welcome you to Through Literary Lens, your beloved show on literature and literary criticism. I, Rajesh Asudani, with my elder brother, Dr. Vinod Asudani, we do try to communicate various works of literature to our readers, to our listeners, to our audience, to those also who have not read them, basically, Vinodji.
Yes.
So that they become easily available to them, even without reading the original work. They can get a hang of it and they can imbibe it in their life. So today, Vinodji, we are continuing with the series of your poems. Last time we had discussed 3 of your poems and we had quite a good chat about them, and our listeners have liked it also, and they are looking forward to some more of your poems. So this poem which you are going to present today, this is not from your collection, that is Penumbra.
Yeah, it is not. It is the latest poem.
Latest poem. So we are really excited to hear this poem first, and then chat about it and take out something valuable from the piece.
Thank you very much, Rajeshji.
Yeah.
I thank my audiences who have shown interest in my poems. So this poem, entitled Erosion, goes like this.
Yeah.
The mobile is ringing. I pick up. The mobile is ringing. I pick up. She says, "Good morning." I reply, "Good morning. How are you?" She says, "Good morning." I reply, "Good morning. How are you?" She answers, "I am fine. How are you?" She answers, "I am fine. How are you?" I say, "I am fine too." It is followed by silence for a few moments. Then either of us asks, "What else?" Then either of us asks, "What else?" The other murmurs, "Else is okay." The other murmurs, "Else is okay." That is what remains between two of us. That is what remains between two of us. What had been once. What had been once. After a while, mobile gets disconnected.
Okay, Manojji. This is a fantastic piece of poetry. You know, it hits at the precise point where we, as the citizens of this post-modern world, live out our lives. And it takes for a target our this sensibility. We are unable to even connect to our near and dear ones. What once had been.
What once had been.
That is the key line in this poem, Vinodji, which I feel. From this, it takes up, even though it occurs towards the end of the poem, but this forms the bedrock of this poem, I would say.
Yes. The first thing that I would like to say, I have tried to poetically capture postmodern sensibility or postmodern influences on life in this poem. For those who are not very much familiar what the postmodernism is, it is, the cultural and the literary trend that is going on at the contemporary times. We can sum up it in the one single phrase: everything is fragmentary. There is no sense of completion or wholeness. Everything is fragmented, everything is collapsing, everything is falling apart, and everything is so subjective that you are not able to understand it in a particular structure. There is nothing fixed. So this postmodernism has impacted everything, including our personal lives.
Yes.
And as the title of the poem goes, erosion. This process of erosion is a universal process. It goes on at every time. You cannot stop it. And how this process of erosion has impacted our relationship. That is the main idea of the poem.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, erosion, the title itself hints at the erosion of the sensibility, I would say, the holistic sensibility, which was the hallmark of the bygone age. Even in the modern era, Vinodji,
Yes.
we had grand narratives.
Yes.
Democracy, socialism, religion, or whatnot. So those grand narratives tied people together.
Yes.
They shared their realities. It was a common reality, even though it was not a homogeneous reality, but it was a common reality. People could talk to each other about their life experiences.
They could share the ideas.
Yeah.
And the sharing the ideas gave them a common ground to communicate, to interact, and ultimately to build relationships.
Yes.
So relationships were not based upon some utilitarian principles. They were based upon common shared ideas. It was immaterial whether those ideas were practicable or not.
Yeah.
But the two people, when they shared some ideas, and that provided necessary anchor to their relationship. Now that kind of anchor is gone in postmodern time. Another thing, if you look at the style of the poem, it is conversational.
Yeah.
And this conversation takes place over the phone.
Oh.
The speaker, picks up the phone, and from the other end, some female speaks, right? Now, she can be his friend, she can be beloved, she can be acquaintance. That is immaterial. But from the conversation, Rajeshji, it is clear that they are talking to each other after a long time.
Yeah, for a long time.
They are not frequent
Yes.
talkers, right? They don't talk to each other every day or very frequently. But over the period of time, they must not have talked to each other. Maybe months, maybe years, right? And this is reality. We all have experienced how we get ourselves disconnected from our near and dear ones, from our friends, right? From our acquaintances.
Yeah.
And sometimes the phone rings up and you pick up, and then this type of formal conversation takes place.
You are at a loss what to talk, because you don't have the shared realities. You don't have the common thread, what
Yes.
we call. So you don't know how to carry the otherwise also, the art of conversation is on the rapid decline.
Right. So his friend says good morning, and he replies yes, good morning. Then she asks, how are you? He says, I am fine. She says, I am fine too.
Yeah.
And then
So all this is a formal conversation, but nothing after that.
and nothing after that.
Nothing after that.
Simply that conversation is coming towards the close. What else? What else?
So this brings into sharp focus the postmodern reality that many a times we really don't have anything to talk about which both of us can, share with each other and relate to each other. Nothing. How are you? These are formal sentences, formal reply.
And else is okay.
Else is okay. Else is okay.
Can we say that if you are talking to someone who has been intimate in the past, because the line "what had been once," it
Yeah.
brings to the
Yes,
focus
yes,
that
yes.
this is not these two people are not acquaintances. Very often
They had shared a deeper relationship in the past.
they must have been very close friends, or
Yeah.
they must have been lovers.
Yeah.
That is hinted at, right?
Yeah.
What had been once.
Yes.
Now, if they had been close, if they had been intimate once, now what has happened in the intervening time? Perhaps each one of them is so preoccupied with his and her, business of life, that they could not pay attention to, they could not nurture that intimacy that was there once, right?
Yeah.
Now, when they talk over the phone, they find themselves incapable of communicating. Communication has collapsed.
Like
And-
it happens in a breakup, right? When the relationships break down, then people after a while can't relate to each other. But now the tragedy is that this is not the general relationship breakup.
It's
it
not
has
breakup.
been perpetuated by the postmodern breakdown, I would say. General breakdown.
General breakdown. There is so much anxiety in life, so much stress in life, there are a lot of pressures, right, of earning and maintaining life standards, and catching up with the social trends. So people have forgotten their intimate relationships, right? And over the period of time, the process of erosion has set in.
And
in the
erosion is very
relationship.
gradual. You can't really, when the soil erodes, the erosion is generally, it is a very slow process over the time. And so it has happened with the people also, the world also, in the postmodern era, that erosion of sensibility, holistic sensibility, the erosion of value orientation, the erosion of relationships, it's a gradual process.
Yes, it is a gradual process. You cannot, notice erosion every day. But over the period of time, when you go back and see, you'll find that the things have eroded. And Rajeshji, even in the close family relationships,
Yeah.
if your children are away, right,
Yeah.
say in the foreign countries, and then simply you catch up with them on the phone, over the period of time, there is nothing much to share. There's nothing much to communicate. Simply you ask, how are you? The child says, I am okay. Then he says, how are you, Papa? I am okay.
That's
so
it.
this,
That's it.
he and she, it's not necessarily
Yeah,
lovers
yeah.
or friends. It can be
No,
anyone.
Two human beings. Any
Yes.
two human beings it can be. And Vinodji, this reminds me of two things. One is when they say that else is okay. It reminds me of a very famous line between Freud and Jung. Rest
Yes.
is silence.
Rest is silence.
The last the line in the letter, Freud and Jung had a very good correspondence over the period of time. But when they broke up, their friendship broke up, the last letter which they wrote, it contained the line, the rest is silence.
I would like to say one of the tragedies that can befall on human beings when we feel that we have nothing to communicate. That is a really tragedy. When you say rest is silence, rest is okay, that means there is nothing to communicate. So this
or
is,
whatever we have to communicate, it will not be mutually validated.
yes.
So that is a real tragedy. That
And
is the real
finally,
tragedy.
the mobile gets disconnected. So this disconnect again symbolically,
again it brings
it's not simply
out-
the mobile
no,
that
no.
disconnected.
No.
Or relationships disconnect, or
Definitely.
communication disconnect,
Definitely.
or emotions disconnect, or thoughts disconnect, ideas disconnect. We are not able to connect. That is a challenge, and this challenge has been talked about in literature and culture.
Eerily, Vinodji, these lines or conversational lines over the phone, they eerily remind of the Westland of T.S. Eliot. What shall we do in the morning?
Yes.
What shall we do in the evening? Nothing.
Nothing. You speak to me. Why don't you speak
Why
to
don't
me?
you speak?
Is there nothing in your head?
So almost a century ago, more than a century ago,
Yes.
T.S. Eliot foreshadowed it.
Yes, that this failure of communication is going to overtake all of us. And this is a postmodern reality, that communication is no longer there, and communication provides the necessary foundation to build up relationship and to build up closeness, intimacy, and communication creates the common ground. So that is not there, and this poem emphatically conveys that this is erosion. That erosion we all are confronting in our postmodern life.
Definitely. So thank you, Vinodji, for a very wonderful discussion and a very wonderful poem also. We would like to hear it once again before winding up.
So
that
it's
we can-
erosion.
Yeah.
The mobile is ringing. I pick up. She says, good morning. I reply, good morning. How are you? She answers, I am fine. How are you? I say, I am fine too. It is followed by silence for a few moments. Then either of us asks, what else? The other murmurs, else is okay. That is what remains between two of us. What had been once. After a while, mobile gets disconnected. Thank you.
So indeed, a very serious, very thought-provoking poem. Thank you, Vinodji, and thank you, listeners. You please let us know your comments, your opinions, your views.
At least you
Yeah.
communicate and connect with us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.